Welcome to Charity Water. We're so happy that you're here hanging out with us. So for us, we thought this would be a really powerful thing that people saw right when they walked into our space. This is an Aphrodite well. And so about a third of our portfolio is in Ethiopia. I'm sure you actually read a lot about Ethiopia probably, or read a lot about our work. But this is an Aphrodite well, and while we offer many different types of solutions, this one is one of the main ones. And what's significant about this well in particular, well, it's functioning, but also there's this guy right here. So this is a water sensor. So in 2012, Google gave us a $5 million grant, which was insane. And they wanted us to pilot a program to figure out a sensor to monitor water flow. Because when we think about sustainability, we really want to solve the water crisis. So we have to know what's happening with our projects. And we work in really remote areas. And so for us to be able to have visibility into that's pretty cool. And with this, we thought we were going to actually buy something off the market, but we realized it had to be food safe and pretty indestructible. So our team designed it, and we actually threw it off of motorcycles, and we rolled semis over it to make sure that it was pretty strong. And inside here, and I might be able to show you guys an actual sensor in our lab, but it's really, really simple technology. So inside's a lithium battery that lasts 10 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then there's 6 capacitance sensors, which are like the sensors on an iPhone. You know how it follows your finger? It follows the water flow. And then there's a GSM antenna, which is it's a really big antenna. It's just like an antenna that would be in a cell phone. And that's what we use to transport all the information to an online dashboard that our partners have access to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's I nerd out over it because I think it's one of the coolest things that we do at Charity Water. And it's really innovating the way we think about sustainability and how we serve communities. Can I tell you one other cool thing about this?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I feel like you would be into it. Okay. So what I really love about it is, and I don't think we tell a lot of people this, but it creates a base. So say it's a water project at a school. They're not really pumping water on Saturdays and Sundays, but they're pumping throughout the week, and we don't want it to create a ticket if it's not broken. So the sensor is so smart that it'll actually create a base so that it will know what the trends are, and it'll be able to identify if something's off. Like if on Monday they're not pumping as much water, then we probably need to check on the water project to make sure it's working. So I think that's super cool too, and I love it. Do you want to try and pump it?
Yeah.
All right, so it's pretty easy, but imagine, so there's just a tank underneath it. And imagine if it went 150 feet into the ground, it would be a lot heavier than this. But go for it.
I did it.
There it is.
I did.
I'll talk about the space a little bit. We just moved in this space a year and a half ago. It's 3 times bigger than our old space.
Oh, wow.
So we outgrew our space, which is a pretty good problem to have, although I kind of miss being really close to everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm super thankful for this space. So our landlords were our same landlords that we had in our old space, and they contributed significantly to this build out, and they reduce our rent every month. So they're huge supporters, and we wouldn't be able to have this space without them. We also had a bunch of friends help us out. So if you actually look on this wall, you'll see a bunch of different companies. So WeWork, which is a co-working space, donated a bunch of furniture to us. Samsung donated $50,000 worth of TVs. So all the TVs that you see, a lot of services were donated. Fat Boys, which are these huge bean bags, which you'll see that you're welcome to jump into if you want. Those were all donated as well. And so as you walk through, you're gonna be like, wow, this space is so beautiful. Just know we would not be able to have it without so many amazing people. When we think about, for Charity Water, marketing and branding, we're a huge component of the work that we do because we're storytellers, and raising awareness and fundraising, that's sort of that's the thing that we do. And so our founder, Scott, he started out with an organization called Mercy Ships, documenting all of the folks that they were helping. So Mercy Ships is like a pro bono, or they have a huge cruise ship basically, and they travel with doctors and nurses, and they do pro bono life-saving surgeries in developing communities. So Scott did that, and he was taking photographs, and there's a lot that goes into that, but a lot of our storytelling is based in that. And so For us, we really want to inspire people. So we have our brand is completely built around hope, because we know that's a way more powerful tool than guilt and despair. So as you walk through, you'll see there's a lot of like really colorful photos, a lot of smiles. You can see just how beautiful the communities are that we work in, and we want people to be excited about that. Do you want me to share any stories of any of these folks?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so this is Molotani. She's from Malawi. And I haven't met her, but our staff, when our staff are in Malawi, they hang out with Molotani and they say she's a hoot, like they love her. But you see the piece of land behind her? That's a road, and that wasn't always there. So they're part of a piece of media called, that's on our website, called The Road That Changed Everything. And basically a neighboring community to Molotani's got clean water, and her community needed clean water, but the drilling rig wasn't able to drive to their community because there was no road. And so they told them, hey, if you build a road, we'll come and we'll drill a well here. And so for months, every single day, a person in every single household in the community worked on building this road. And so our team went to go document it. And if you see over here, the wooden drum, we were there the day that the drill struck water, and they were all celebrating. So it's just really cool. It's that just really represents the buy-in that the communities have and the ownership they have over the water project. I always like to point out this sign, the craziest thing we can do is nothing. That was kind of a tagline of ours, and I'll talk a little bit more about our supporters later, but we just love this idea of like, there's always something anyone can do. It doesn't matter how old you are or who you are, you can impact someone's life. And so that was a big tagline for our gala 2 years ago, and that sign was a part of it. And I secretly want that sign to be in my house because I love it so much.
Presley's already said the exact same thing.
Yes.
Huh, did you say the same thing?
Yeah, I love that sign.
I know, I love it. Okay, so it's like it's buzzy right now, which is fun because our gala is on Monday, and it's our 11th gala, and it's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and we're so excited. And every year we do something different. Last year we did virtual reality, which I'll talk about, and this year we're doing something a little different, which we're super excited about. Okay, so this is a map of kind of like the different, countries we work in, and different locations where we like targeted September campaign. This is where we're really active in this area. Ethiopia being a third of our portfolio, and we're super active in India, Cambodia, Pakistan, and Nepal too. So just a fun little graphic. And then as you come in here, this is our flux space. So this, you can see we have like a shuffleboard, which you're welcome to play later, and a ping pong table. Usually at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you hear the ping pong table going back and forth because everyone's like, I need a break.
Yep.
But this space we're especially thankful for because we're able to share it with our community. So we do a lot of different events here, whether it's having a speaker come and speak, or we're screening a movie, or we're doing some sort of happy hour. All that happens here. We also do a lot of staff meetings here too. So one really cool thing about Charity Water that I love is I basically get to work with my best friends every day. And we do a lot of things as a staff. And so one thing that I really love is every Monday morning we do something called bagels, where we eat bagels and together, and we basically do like an all-staff meeting to say like, this is what's happening this week. Here are special announcements. These are the people we're celebrating. And I love that we're really intentional about that. This is our key relationships team. Again, our office looks very lived in right now, which is great. But they are an incredibly important team. They work with all of our major donors. So we'll talk about the 100% model a little bit, but there's a group of people we call the Well, and they're private donors, and they provide all of our operational costs. So like the electricity, the coffee, my salary, the computers we work on, etc. And they're incredible, and they don't just write checks. They're like our closest friends, biggest advocates. They host our staff when our staff are in their cities, and we're just super thankful for them. And they work really closely with that group and like other major donors.
There's a scooter.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to ride around on that if you want. Yeah, you totally can.
Why is there a scooter?
We're a little dramatic because this office is so much bigger than our old office that we bought scooters.
It's too far to walk.
It's too far to walk. Especially when you're in the back, you're like, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to scoot out. You're welcome to ride that around.
Scooter.
So this is our finance team, and our finance, so we do an audit every year, and they lead that, obviously, and they're usually the last people to leave. They work really hard to make sure that we're spending every single penny of public donations with integrity. So they do all of that, and they're very important. And then also, fun fact, we only had 3 conference rooms in our old space. One of those conference rooms was our founders that he gave up his office so that we could use as a conference room, but all of the conference rooms in this space are named after a little piece of Cherry Water history. So this was Varick Street, which is where our old office was.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so as we go through, I'll try and explain them. Some of them are a little weird and probably wouldn't make much sense outside of Cherry Water style. This is our kitchen. It gets so crazy in here, like 11:30 to 2. People are like making, we used to have like a salad club where everyone would bring like their own like salad ingredient and everyone would make salads, but that happens in here, and we have like kitchen duty signs and fun things to remind people to keep our space clean. And then these are phone booths. So in our old space, we used to have these phone booths that we made. Like we're not like, you know, we don't build things. But we made these phone booths, and we called them sweat lodges because there was no ventilation. And so we're super happy about these because there's ventilation and they're spacious and they're really great. And it's really important for us because we work in such a open workspace that we have like a quiet space to kind of go to. Sometimes I hide in one of these, and it's great. So this is our water programs team. I swear there are people who work here. They're probably in the meeting right now. But they're a really cool team. So if you look on the screen, you can kind of see we've been around for 10 years. In the last 10 years, we just celebrated our 10th birthday in September. But in the last 10 years, we've been able to impact 6.4 million people with over 21,000 water projects.
Wow, okay.
Which is so cool. Like I look at those numbers and I'm like, that is insane. So there are actually 663 million people who don't have access to clean water, which means we're providing clean water to a little over 1% of that population, which is really, really neat to think about. And then you can kind of see where we work. So if you actually go on our website, did you see the complete projects?
I was showing everyone that, so I'm like, look at how many.
I know. I like think about the fact that our team does reporting on every project. I'm like, this is our team. Well, there's more people, obviously, but this is our water programs team. So it's really insane to like think about that.
They all take care of all of those different things.
Yeah, it's insane. And one really the most important thing to note is we work with local partners on the ground. So, like I said, we're fundraising, awareness raising, but this team works really closely with our local partners who implement and coordinate everything on the ground. So they're really the experts in the field. They work in the communities, and our team works closely with them, because accountability, because we send 100% of our donations to the ground, but also like strategic planning and support and all of that this team does. So they actually spend about 30% of their time in the field. So they have a really cool job because they get to go and travel and like visit these communities.
I read about like these staff trips.
Yeah.
Have you actually made it to one of those yet?
Yeah, I did. I got to go in January of 2015. I dare say that our staff trip was the best trip. It was awesome. So we went to Ethiopia. We actually went to Tigray, which is a region like in northwest Ethiopia, and that's a region that we work really heavily in. So we have amazing local partners there. They're called REST. We've been working with them for years, and we always like to do trips there because they really exemplify our work. So we went, there was probably 25 of us, and we went for a week, and we got to spend time with our partners and really understand their role in the work that we do, which is like so important. They are such an integral role in our projects and how we operate. But then we also got to go to communities that didn't have clean water. So I actually remember there was a community, one of the first communities we went to, we're in this like caravan of cars, and there's like 4 people per car, which is actually kind of fun to travel in a big caravan. And you travel outside of the city for a couple of hours, or outside of the town, I should say, and then you travel for like 3 hours on a road, which is basically off-roading. And our drivers, who are all from Ethiopia, we kept calling it a free African massage because you're just like bouncing around the whole time. But we got to this community and there were probably, I don't know, 800 or 1,000 people. And they all greeted us with song and like they threw popcorn at us.
Yeah.
That's because that's the way that we greet people. And we went and we looked at their water source, which, I mean, there's a huge, huge community. And their water source is like this little pond, probably like, I don't know, I'm trying to see what I can use. It's like, I mean, there's like barely a trickle coming down and it's so dirty and you can see like, you know, feces from the cattle and this is what they're using to fuck their water. And I think that was pretty sobering to me, like to see that. And also like I noticed like all the babies on the backs, their eyes were kind of like closed shut because they had infections and that was really intense. And that community has clean water now because they were getting clean water in a few weeks, which is really awesome. But to see the reality of that, and then we went back to the schoolhouse and they gave us like all of their bread and honey. Like they served us coffee and honey's like a really big thing in Ethiopia and it's so good. And they like, you know, this is a community that doesn't have access to clean water, but they were so generous with us, which was really, really cool to see. It was awesome. And then we went to another community that had a school that has clean water. It's had clean water for a few years, and we played soccer with them, and they destroyed us, completely destroyed us. But it was just a really fun trip, and being able to spend time in the community was amazing. And I'm so thankful that I got that.
That definitely seems like an amazing thing to actually be able to go out and do.
Yeah, sorry, I like to talk about it forever. This is actually fun. This is a charity water bike, a Pure Fix bikes. They give a percentage of every bike sold to us, and this is someone's here. But it's great. We love that.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to show you is this, which the tap stand's not on here, but our director of special programs is an engineer and a handyman who built this, and it's to replicate a tap stand in Nepal. So that sensor I was talking about earlier, we're testing a sensor for tap stands right now to implement and take out. Transparency is super important to us, and we have these dashboards up that just go through so this is our social media, and it has our total page views, and it's in the last 30 days. But some of them are this is to date, this is how much we've raised just on my charity water today, and you can kind of see we had a big bump, but just so you can see our metrics and how we're doing and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I just actually got to see the virtual reality experience, which I'm really, really excited about. I love virtual reality, obviously. You've probably seen me play it a lot, use lots of virtual reality gears. But I actually got to see this one, and it was really, really amazing. And it's the story of a little girl, and she had to walk for water, and then Charity Water got a well in her village, and it was all about how she got affected and how she has so much more time in the day, and it was just very, very touching and really, really good. So we'll put a link to the YouTube version of it, as well as where you can get the VR gear version of it if you have one, but if you don't, you can just watch it on YouTube. But yeah, it was really, really amazing, so I highly recommend you guys checking it out. So on the website, they talked a lot about how when trucks pull into town, everyone's cheering and throwing popcorn everywhere, and it was really cool to actually kind of be there seeing it. And they did the filmmaking in a really cool way where you're kind of right there. It feels like you're living and experiencing in that moment. And you can look around, you can see the trucks pulling in, you can see people being excited, and you can actually see them cheering when the rig exploded, which was really cool. But it's a bit hard to know where to look. Do I look at the rig exploding? Do I look at people? Where do I look?
Yeah, you might want to rephrase that. The rig didn't explode.
Well, no. The rig exploded.
It wasn't an action film.
It didn't explode. Well, when the rig found water, the water sort of burst out of it. So that's what I mean with exploding.
When we were on our staff trip, we got to go to a community where the rig hit water, and we had there was an entire community. So the community actually helps when that happens. They build the well afterward, and the community plays a big role in that. But so when that happened, there were so many people, and I remember they do a lot of traditional Ethiopian dancing, and they had this little radio, and there's probably 100 of us, and we're all just in a circle, like trying to shake our shoulders and dance with them. And it was just so, I just remember it being like one of the highlights of the trip, which is so fun. They really are so thankful and excited when they get water. So when we made the VR film, we had never made a VR film before, and so we had a lot of friends help us out, but our filmmaker, Jamie, who's incredibly talented, so like all the videos that you watched, most of them were edited and produced by her. But she's literally Googling like how to make VR film because we've never made one before. But we had a lot of help from our friends. So GoPro actually, this was before the Samsung 360 camera. So we went in May of 2015. Yeah, because it's 2016 now. 2015? Yep, it's 2016 now. And GoPro gave us these 2 rigs, which is basically a pole with a bunch of GoPro cameras around it. They gave us 2 of them. One of them was broken as soon as we got there. So they're like, this isn't a great start, but we got the story, and they had a great time spending time with Salam and just hearing her story and spending time with her family. Salam's doing really well now, by the way. Scott went back to visit her November of last year, so a year ago, and she was in school every single day, super healthy. Their family is doing really well, and she really hopes to become a nurse one day. So we'll keep up with her and see how she's doing. But one other thing I wanted to note is the directional sound on virtual reality is actually like the hardest part. And so we had a sound studio donate all of their time, which is cool. They did all the sound for us.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things is we see when people get access to clean water, so many things change for them.
Yeah.
So girls are able to go to school every single day. People are healthier. People are actually able to start their own businesses. We've had a lot of stories of women actually starting their own businesses, which is awesome, just because they have time and they're healthy and they're able to have the capacity to think about that.
Yeah.
We actually hear stories of like domestic partner, like marriages and families are happier and healthier. Like they get along better and their family life is better. So it really, when we say water changes everything, we not only do we believe it, but we've seen that it like really changes everything, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So
it seems like such a memorable thing to be able to work here. This tour in the space is so amazing, just to be able to see this is what these people are actually doing, because you can go on the website and you can see the stats of what people are doing.
Yeah.
But it definitely changes it when you're here, because you can actually see how much work everyone's doing, and you can see kind of what's going behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite things.
This is a lot of behind the scenes right now. There's a lot going on. Do you want to see the rest of the space? Or?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Again, I was talking about the sensors and how innovation is super important. As a staff, we take 2.5 days off from our work. We break up into teams and we have different projects. So some of them are fun. They're like, what would a staff library look like? Or I've always done one around communities, since I'm our community coordinator, but like, how do we really engage and inspire people to be more involved, and how do we like scale our program, etc. But so some of them we use, some of them we don't use, and they're just like fun projects. But I'll mention one, our very first hackathon. Our Chief Global Water Officer, Christoph, who's awesome. He's like, I have so many stories about him. I could tell you that you just love him, but he has 15 years of experience in disaster relief. So helping communities that, have just gone through some sort of disaster, whether it's an earthquake or a tsunami or whatever that is, and developing communities. And so we, in 2014, and during that hackathon, while we only focus on clean water, that's our only focus, we wanted to come up with some sort of plan in case we should ever need to respond to some sort of disaster relief. So that was in 2014. We didn't know if we were going to use it. We didn't know if it would happen. But then when the Nepal earthquake struck, which was in 2015, I think, it struck Kathmandu, and so we work in Nepal. It's actually the only country where we work in an urban area. Everywhere else is very rural, but in Nepal we work in schools in Kathmandu, and a lot of our projects were affected by that. And so because of the work that we did at hackathon, we were able to get our team together and put a plan in place. And this was like on a Saturday. Everyone dropped what they were doing, and everyone was huddled in our friend Tyler's apartment, who's on the screen right now, just like figuring out what we were going to do. And we raised nearly $1 million in a week to go towards disaster relief. And it was the first time in Charity Water history that we fundraised for anything other, or for something other than just clean water.
Yeah.
So the hackathon's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Because stuff comes from it. And that's something that a lot of startups and tech companies do. They'll do like a hackathon. And this is where our engineering team sits. Obviously they're not back here right now, but the majority of our giving happens online. So a lot of our supporters, their first interaction is their interaction with us on the website, which sounds like you have like spent time on. But we have an incredible team who they work a lot to make sure that that is the best experience that we can provide people. They filter back end or front end. Like, they're just incredibly talented. And every time I come back here, I'm like, you would probably be able to read some of it. I'm like, what are you doing? That looks really hard. They're all over, just go for it.
Very good.
Back here, so our creative team is incredible. We have designers, a brand content lead, Cubby, who you met earlier, is part of our part of our creative team, a filmmaker, and really like a lot of the content comes from them. So sometimes we work with freelance photographers. Some notable ones are Jeremy Snell and Esther Havens. We love working with them. We've worked with other like freelance creatives as well, but a lot of it is based here in the office, which is really cool because we get to see a lot of the cool stuff when it comes out. And then this is the marketing team, which is the team that I sit on. That's my desk. It's very messy right now. Presley, hang out.
Love your dress. Love it.
Thank you. If the cats have bow ties,
I like want that dress.
it's one of
I was like,
I just need a personal this to travel with me.
Yeah.
It's in New
A little
York.
isolation chamber.
Yeah. The sounds of New York stress me out, so I can just be like, whoop, bye.
that's why I was